Hello, Mary Meet. So I want to review a book, and this time it's Witchcraft the Story of Man's Quest for Supernatural Power by Eric Maple. So yes, what is this? Well, basically it's a halfway scholarly, and I'll explain why I have these in a little while. Work on basically history of magic, a bit about uh, magic. The contemporary magic at the time of the book's writing. It was written early in the 70s. And yeah, what I say by halfway story is that there is a lot of mistakes in the book. So, yeah, especially when it comes to the Wicca movement, which, of course, it had been going for some time but by the early 70s, but it had not yet turned into a really mainstream thing. And there is quite a bit of it's not the worst book I've read that has described this from the outside, but because I definitely think I don't know very much about this author, so he could of course be on the inside, but it doesn't sound like it. And it's not the worst such book I've heard, but there's a lot of misconceptions anyway. So yeah, one thing I also should warn you is that there is a lot of nudity in the book. If you have a problem with seeing naked witches, this is not a book for you. No, I don't have a problem with that. I think that naked witches are a very nice thing. So does my hubby. But if you are prudish, you are going to see some naked witch butts and some naked witch boobs aplenty. Like I said, it's a 70s book. What do you expect? So let's get into it, shall we? What's in this book? Well, first, let me say that I think the book is very beautifully presented. It, I like the image on the front, the image on the back, and it has this like dust cover, and under it, it's as far as I remember. There's also an image under it. So I mean, they really did a lot of detail work, and there's images on the dust cover. There's images inside of it. I mean, they really did go to a lot of work in designing this book to make it look awesome. So I'll give them props for that. So, what's in it? And there is a lot of nice pictures and such in here, including of a very, very nice trim male witch that we see from behind. And I did not in any way, shape, or form stop at that page to have a long, good look at his naked butt. I would never do that. Anyway, we have introductory notes that just tells a little bit about the premise of the book and so on and so forth. And we have a bibliography. It's not a very good one. There's not a lot of books on the list. Then we have the chapters that basically magic in our minds, which talks a bit about the source of magic and so on and so forth. We have ancient terrors, more about the darker aspects, sorcerers and early Christianity. That's what it says in the 10. Witchcraft under attack, facing the burning times and such. You have the cunning folk, which tells a bit about, uh, well, yeah, folk healers and the like. The Satanists, yes, it is also 10. Primitive survivals, more about basically early magic like that. Wicca the New Wave, which is the chapter that is about Wicca, and which is also the chapter that has the most flaws in it. But for an early 70s work, it's not that bad. And then we have acknowledgements. It's not a huge book, but the pages are interesting because there's a lot of pictures, but we see if we can find one with least amount of nudity. So that YouTube will not delete my video. Here we go. So it's definitely a coffee table book. And almost every page has these kinds of lots of these are of course the chapter on the burning times. So is this book worth it? Well, yes and no. If you buy this book to learn anything about modern Wicca and so on and so forth, no, it's not worth it. It's just one little chapter about that. And the chapter is not the best one. If you want to learn, get a bit of a one-on-one on how Wicca was seen by somebody more positive towards it in the 1970s, the books might be worth it. If you want a basic primer to magic history, basically, how magic has been seen and used in history, then this is an okay start. It's not very in-depth, but it's quite okay. So yeah, let me see how big were each of these chapters. And it has all sorts of um, information, like with various statues and so on and so forth. Let me see if I can just get to a chapter start. Boom, boom. Witchcraft the Attack, which is the Burning Times chapter, goes from page 48 until page 86. So these sizable chapters, but still they sort of bite over a lot. But all in all, for the historical stuff, it's informative. It doesn't go extremely in depth, but it's informative. The printing is very good. The images are very crisp and nice, and even if this book is 40 years old now, uh, it still looks very good. So I'll give them props for that. So yeah, would I recommend this or not? Like I said, if you want a book on actual magic, no, this isn't it. If you want a coffee table book about the history of magic and witchcraft generally, this might be a good one, especially if you can find it used fairly cheaply. Let's see how many pages it is. I mean, it's a gorgeous book. It's 144 pages. It's a gorgeous book. It talks a little bit about early Wicca and so on and so forth, and while there's some mistakes, it's not glaring, huge, enormous mistakes, so yeah. I mean, the only reason why I can't really give it an enormously high rating is that there's so many books like this. This is the basics of this is the basics of uh, magic, so on and so forth. But I mean, it's not bad, but it is what it is. So for the images alone, which is great, and there are some amazing pictures of Wiccan ritual in there, and I can't show you most of them because the practitioners are very nude, and YouTube would think I'm very naughty. YouTube would be right, but I don't want my channel deleted. So, but yeah, these images are amazing. Lots of pictures of artifacts and voodoo dolls and old statues and all of that, which are quite interesting to see. So yeah, I say if you can find it used relatively cheaply, I say go for it. I mean, not a bad book. It has, so I wouldn't immediately trust all the information in it, but it's not bad and it gives a basic premise for the topics it takes up. But the main reason to get these books are the images, because they are amazing. Especially the images of Wiccan ritual and so on, which are amazing. So yeah, I'll give the book 6 out of 10 and say get it for the images. and for the information that some at times is wrong, but still is earlier information about Wicca and so on and so forth, or as a general coffee table book on the history of magic. It's not an amazing book, it's not a great book, but it's a decent book and the pictures are very good. So, yeah, if you can get it for 15 bucks or so, or under, I would say go for it. But I wouldn't necessarily go for more than that, because there are better books when it comes to these coffee table books on magic out there. And that is my review of Witchcraft, the story of man's quest for supernatural power by Eric Maple. Yeah, I should note one thing. It do keep the concept very well. It basically has a focus on the idea of people's desire to attain supernatural power. And that is the focus to the book. And I do like to see books, including scholarly books, that has a red thread going through it. So it gets a thumb up from that. So yeah, beautiful, beautiful book. The information is so-so, but it is not extremely bad. But yeah, it's a good coffee table book. Have a great day, and blessed be.